All right, what's going on with everyone? How's everyone doing? It's been a while. It's been a while. But yeah. Today we gonna talk about how it's not about white people. Some people they've kind of been messaging me, Christians, let's say Christians. They've been messaging me talking about we need to be compassionate with people, and though some wrongs happened in the past, we need to be more compassionate, loving, forgiving, you know. And I let them know it's not really about white people. This is really about us. There's a certain level of history we have to learn when talking about us, but it's really nothing to do with white people, man. We existed a long time before white people came into the world. Malcolm X told us this. We are going to be here a long time when white people are no longer here. That's basic science. White people can only continue to exist if they just breed with themselves. And that really, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing really put us onto this by saying that's really the psychological subconscious fear of white supremacy, is that there will come a time in the world where white people will no longer exist. Their numbers are going down on a daily basis. You ever wonder why that's in the paper and on the news? Like, why is that a topic or a concept? White people can't fight nature. If you are only going to breed within yourself but try to dominate other groups of people, how are you going to do that if you only are going to breed within yourself as white people and the whole world is filled with people of color? The original people of the world are people of color, particularly black, very black. And from that, other shades of black and brown come about. But something happened to a group of people. Dr. Kaba Kamene speaks about this a lot. Something happens to a group of people that took away their skin color, took away some of their eye color, took away a lot of their physical features that typically people of color have, right? And when they came back into the world, coming down from that Caucasoid stock, they see that all over the world there's people of color. They see that there's people of color in Australia, there's people of color in Mexico, there's people of color in the Carolinas, there's people of color in the Floridas, there's people of color all the way down to Argentina. Which I'm just saying, these names, these aren't even the names that existed at the time, but they realize this. There's nobody white that we're meeting, no matter where we go in the world. They already have their culture set up. They already have civilization set up. They already have ancient histories. They already understand astrology and astronomy and the stars. They know stuff we do not know. They have stuff we do not have, but we want. So instead of coming back into the human family in a way where they can work together, they decided to create a culture where whiteness becomes supreme. And this is why the name is white supremacy, right? A lot of black people who never talked really about white supremacy only started talking about it when the news started talking about it recently. When a lot of stuff started coming up in the news about white supremacy, that's when black people start talking about it. But before that, when I was talking about white supremacy, a lot of black people would be like, what is that? Like they thought they would laugh. Black people would laugh like, what are you talking about? But like, no, it's a system that's already in place. That's the supreme thing about it. It's already in place, whether you know it or not. You already live under that system. You live in that system, right? Whiteness is already supreme. A white person goes and murders people in a school today, or a church today, or a prayer meeting, for example, anything like that. White men can still walk out the house and no one's looking at them like, oh man, white man's about to do this. It's supreme. That's just supposed to be like, the norm. Like white men are safe. White men are, they already have deep in your subconscious mind that Jesus is white. And the subconscious, remember, the subconscious mind is 90% of your brain. Only 10% gets used. 90% is the subconscious mind. So that's how you see and understand things. And if you understand Christ as being white, and you see your mom praying to Christ every time stuff gets hard and every time stuff gets difficult and every time, and Christ comes through and something happens and it works out, and you're associating that person she's praying with, that person your father's praying to, you're associating that person with this culture of whiteness because that's the only image you know of Christ as being white. So then when somebody actually comes to you and talks to you about, no, the Hebrew people, they're African people, they come from Iraq, they go into Egypt, they live in Egypt for a while, they leave Egypt, they marry Ethiopians, these people had locks. When you tell somebody something like that, they can't get past the fact that all I've seen is a white Jesus. I've never seen a black Jesus. I've seen the Passion of the Christ. I saw a white Jesus. From the childhood Bible stories that we get taught in black churches, it's pictures of Jesus and his white 12 disciples, right? Some books might have had a little hint of color or whatnot. Some books might have had a little hint of yellow on them or something like that. But in general, we have this thing about whiteness, and whiteness isn't going to be around forever. It's not going to be around forever. If you have 100 white men and only one black woman, it's a wrap. Everything's going black, right? Unless some of those men intentionally choose to, just breathe the black out, which would be sick, right? If you have 100 white women and there's one black man, it's a wrap. Whiteness is gone. Whiteness is not the original state of people. The original state of people. This is why we're not mad. Like, you can't be mad at someone for having white skin tone or being white. I just have to deal with white people who have a lot of humility and humbleness, regardless of the system, because white culture has been based and founded on a lie that whiteness is supreme. And to support that lie, they have to try to show all other groups of color in a negative way. Look at Mexico, they're a third world country. Look at Africa, people are starving over there. That's all the images, at least, that they show. Look at the African Americans, all of them are just thugs and in jail. All of them are baby mamas, hoes and sluts, and all of this type of talk that the media will stereotype you and try to put you in a certain category just so that whiteness can seem pure and natural and above. It seems like white people are doing something so much better than everybody else. So if you ever have really been around white culture, I grew up around white culture. The city I grew up in is 80% white today in 2021, right? And the majority of the other minorities are Asian, So it's not, I grew up there in the 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, so it was even whiter back then. The only black people you saw were either interracial couples who normally the black person didn't want nothing to do with you if you was full black. They was like, I moved out here to get away from y'all. But it's what it was. But, growing up around this, you realize that, there's something deeper as far as they want to try to get into your identity and culture, but they can never do it. But they honor and respect your identity. They want to go after it. They want to try to become like you. But at the same time, they're doing it because they want to feel like the original people, the great people, the ones who have everything figured out. And they can't do that while sharing power with you because they can't control you, right? They have to put you in jail. They have to economically deprive you. Right now, I drive through white suburbs. They're building new suburbs all over the place in white areas. I mean, I'm talking about just millions of dollars are going into white suburbs. And then you got I've been to Mexico on mission trips probably 6 or 7 times, and you have towns of people living with no nothing. I mean, talking about in dirt, and it's not like you can go to McDonald's and get food. There's no McDonald's around. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you might eat that day, you might not eat that day. So You know what I'm saying? What's happening? This isn't stuff that was just happening before white people showed up. But white people always make it seem like the people of color just got themselves in a bad position. And they've gotten so comfortable, they've lived in their wrongdoing for so long as a culture that it's just become the norm. If a black person or a person of color speaks out against it, they begin to be labeled as racist or whatnot. White people have nothing to do with where we're going as a people. We were here before them. We will be here after them. This is why many white people actually move away from white culture and try to get into cultures with people of color, right? It's a difference when you have somebody white and they get that black gene. You know, you end up with like a LaMelo Ball and Alonzo Ball. Alonzo Ball got that Malcolm X tatted right on his arm. You know, that's not going to be there if his white mom had a white dad. He would have just been a white boy in a white culture, and his whole life would have different. That black gene he got put him in a whole different category. You know, J. Cole, if J. Cole's white dad or white mom had just been with a white man, J. Cole wouldn't have been J. Cole. That black gene, now he can connect with all these people of color all over the world in a different way. But if he was white, he couldn't even say the stuff he say. He couldn't even think that way if he was white, because he wouldn't have seen the world the same way. You know, Drake wouldn't be no rapper, all cool, ladies man and all that type of stuff, if he just had the white genes. That black gene comes in there and it adds a whole different element. It brings you back into the human family. Barack Obama, if Barack Obama didn't have that black gene from his dad, he would have just been another white president. You know, he wouldn't have been Barack, he would have been Bill. You know, so we're looking at this and we're understanding stuff from a deeper level now. You black people, we black people we have the genes of original peoples of the earth. People of color have the genes of original people of the earth. All throughout history, certain stuff can happen that alters people's skin tones and alters people's body and physical phenotypes. But the original people in the state of nature are people of color, black, and all shades of blackness and brown. It's original peoples. White people honoring their whiteness was to literally be against what was natural, and they had to put what was natural down in order to raise themselves up. Understand that white people came up while we were in chains. They didn't come up while we were free and smart as well, right? They didn't come up while we were being educated and intelligent and free. And amigo, they had to literally, they literally had to kill a lot of our ancestors. A lot of our ancestors had to lose a lot of wars. A lot of us, we started off as children. We didn't know our parents. We got put into missions. We got put onto plantations, right? Because you can't just come in and take up people's children. You read about the Native Americans in Texas in the late 1400s. The Spanish went in there and tried to, either late 1400s or 1500s, they tried to come in there and they were trying to convert the natives out there in East Texas. And the natives ran them out once they said your kids are evil and your kids have to be baptized, or that, you know, we can't be in community with each other. And the natives saw what was happening and they're like, oh, they're against us. They ran them out of Texas, right? The next time the missionaries didn't come, it was the military that came, and they didn't do no negotiating. They just slaughtered, you know. This culture of whiteness is a very temporary existence. It's not going to exist forever. It hasn't existed forever. The culture of whiteness just really started a few hundred years ago, and we all are keeping it going as the longer we support it. There was a time where we had to support it because we were in chains, but they let the chains off once they knew we were good, like we weren't about to fight them. They knew that, hey, they're passive enough with us, they trust us enough, they depend on us enough, we can let the chains off now. We can let them out of slavery now, let a few of them in college, a few of them in our positions of power, you know, but we still are going to be the dominant ones on the land. You know, all black people, all I know is we all trying to get land. We all want to buy land, and we need money to do that. All of the resources are still given out and controlled and distributed by white culture. So they let you act free, you know, hop in your new car, buy your new clothes, you know, go do whatever drugs you want to do. They let you do all that as long as they really control the real resources, what everybody needs, you know. You still living at their apartment complex, you still are paying them rent, you're still waiting for them to pay you a check 2 weeks after you've done work for them. That never made sense to me. No. That does not ever make sense. These are all white people's concepts and white people's way of doing things to keep white people supreme. Yeah, white people don't exist, family. We exist. We exist, and when white people are no longer here, you're just going to have people of color in this earth. So the worst thing we can do now is to just honor and continue to honor whiteness, to continue to worship whiteness as if that's what we're trying to get to. We're at a point now where we can look at something like the NBA, and we can see that the NBA, it's all black talent. It's all black talent. It's all white ownership. We complain about stuff like there's not enough black coaches, but why do you still feel the need that you need to be in a league owned by another culture? Just immediate gratification of money? Or are we looking outside of just our lifetimes and outside of our generation and thinking about where we are trying to go as a people? As I said, we know that the future is not having our children owned by white people, waiting on white people to pay them, having to adjust to laws that white people sign off on. That's not the future. The future is black and brown, and the future is HD color. You feel what I'm saying? The future is color. You know, white people have a time, they have we're basically, we as black people need to start helping usher in this new world. And the good white people that are out there, you know, those ones will adjust. Those good ones will adjust, because that new world is coming in. And what are we going to do when we don't have white people to organize stuff for us, and we don't have white people to, Dr. Kaba Kamene speaks about this all the time, what do we do when there's no longer white people around? Who's going to be the national security team? You understand what I'm saying? Who's going to be the education department? This is why I encourage all black people to just already go spiritually and take ownership of yourself, your mind, your time, your energy. Take it all back. Let this system fall. There's no, it's an illusion of inclusion. It's an illusion of inclusion. It's an illusion like, if maybe I get more money, you know, if maybe black people just had more money, maybe if black people just had land, but we're still thinking on a level that is under white people. You know, if only black people had more degrees, what degrees that white people sign off on? You know, at what point do we understand that we are going to have to exist and mature and govern and support one another and ourselves on our own without help from people outside of us? And once we can do that type of living, and once we can think for our future generations and begin to live our lives in a way for our future generations, you know, white people won't even be viewed as an obstacle, because really they can't do anything. Like they can't do anything about that. They can only control us as much as we give them power to. Okay, so it's not about white people. White people are very irrelevant to what I need to do, what you need to do as a black person. Very irrelevant. We'll be back on here. Peace.